Guys? The Game Dragon here. And, well, it's been almost close to midnight now as I'm making this video. And I did talk a lot of positive about Cold War Zombies. The Season 1 and 2, Firebase C, Outbreak. But this time I gotta do a little bit of an opposite. And that is doing a bit of a rant video. Mainly focused on the zombie game mode. Nothing to do with multiplayer or Warzone, unless there's anything that's related to zombies. Of course, I will talk about it. Now, to get the very first thing, the elephant in the room out of the way, it has to do with the weapons. More importantly, the mid-season weapons, which so far we only had 5. We have 4 melee weapons and 1 ranged weapon, which being the Street Sweeper, as well as the 4 melees. The problem is that you have to earn these by playing multiplayer, and some of these challenges are stupidly annoying, and it's very time consuming. But I had to play in different matches, either 10 or 15. And here's the thing, even if you got like, let's say, 2 rapid kills with a melee weapon, you can't just back out of the game immediately, because they will not track and they will reset your progress. So if you're at 14 out of 15 and you just back out immediately on your last game that you're thinking you're gonna get the sledgehammer or katana, you're just gonna reset the whole progress. It's so fucking stupid. And you're thinking, oh, why don't you just buy it in the store as you can get it with the blueprint? The problem with it though is you can't level up your weapon and you can't earn camos for it, so making a waste of money and time. At least a shotgun was a lot more durable because it's of course a ranged weapon, but for the melees are pretty damn stupid. And it doesn't help to the fact that the multiplayer is heavily with skill-based matchmaking. So since I perform well, I am going against other people who are sweating their ass off, and especially camping, where I have literally no chance to get any melee kills up close and personal. Even if I'm a proper melee class, it will not work. So my solution for it is give us the zombie challenges for these melee weapons. Even if we can only unlock it and use it in zombies, but we can't use it in multiplayer, that's completely fine for me, because, well, as for most weapons, to use in multiplayer, like the E2 for example, it sucks dick. Like literally, you had to get a free kills without dying in 15 matches for a weapon that can only do a 2-hit kill, as the other weapons are a 1-hit kill, and this is a 2-hit kill. Of course, due to the different stats and abilities, or well, mostly different stats. But this is mind-boggling. The only purpose that people would use the melee weapons is for zombies. But that's another problem that zombies has, or the issues with these new weapons. Or I should say, the post-launch weapons. Such as the Street Sweeper, the MAC-10, the LC-10, the Groza, and the FAR 83. The problem with these weapons is you actually had to have it in your loadout. They're not in the box, and they don't get dropped by Elite or Loot Crates in either Onslaught or Outbreak. Even though they say in the patch note that they will add they add these weapons in the mystery box, and that was from Season 1, back in December. So roughly about 4 months in, and we still have not seen any new weapons in the box. The only brand newish weapon they added in the mystery box was the Ray K-84 for Firebase C and Outbreak, but not for these guns, which is pretty stupid. And this is a joke because before, in Black Ops 4, they didn't add any new weapons in the mystery box until February. And now we're like 1 extra month in. They didn't add any weapons in the mystery box. And it sucks too. It sucks I can't pair a MAC-10 with, you know, a Groza or a FAR 83, or I can't pair the FAR 83 with the Street Sweeper because they don't have that option. I can't have both. Another problem is I can only equip at least one weapon with the Dark Ether camo. I can't have at least 2 weapons with the same camo that I like to run. Because most of the stuff I had to get from the wall or in the mystery box, it will be just a base weapon with just randomized attachments. Which sucks because I actually like putting on this camo, and you can only see it for at least one weapon in game. Is pretty laughable. And speaking of the mystery box, there's really no point to use it or go for it anymore because you can get your loadout here. You can just get of course, the best weapon in the game, which is of course the Howard 77 or the East Tough 37, like to call it, because that's its real life name. You can pair up the best attachment you can ever offer, especially if you have the Task Force barrel, which increases more damage, and a few others like a bigger magazine tube and no others. Put on the best camo, customize it, use it, rock it all the way through. Like, there's really no point to use the other weapons as well, like the melee weapons. They're basically obsolete by this weapon. So these melee weapons that I'm not gonna go for, I just think they just don't exist because they're not worth my time to get, and I'm not gonna have a miserable experience playing multiplayer. And Treyarch, if you are even listening to this, please add these weapons that are part from the Battle Pass or the mid-season weapons into the mystery box. At least give them value, and not only that, at least allow us to at least level up these melee weapons that we get from the mystery box. After all, these are the base versions of these weapons. This will be awesome. I mean, sure, we may not be able to equip the camo, but at least allow us to get a separate challenge with this. I don't care if it's like a big grind to get. I'd rather do grind for hours to go for a melee weapon in zombies than try to spend like an hour or 30 minutes in multiplayer trying to get these weapons and probably have no chance to get it at all, and I waste a match. Also to note, as for the launchers, why aren't there kills tracking? You can clearly see I have already made it to almost 6,000 kills with the Sigma and close to 4,000 kills with the RPG. And you can see my badge basically in the middle with the 2,500 kills. It's not tracking. And this has been bugged since launch. We're literally like 5 to 6 months in, and they didn't even fix it. I mean, hell, I don't think we even get the calling card or even the challenge for it in zombie. Let me see it. Let's go all the way down. Let me see if we could find it. Trying to. Trying to find it in zombies, but. It may show. Let me see. Well, here's a launcher diamonds, but that's not the issue here. Okay, it says get these sharpshooter, but even though it didn't say. Okay, I actually got these, but it's kind of annoying that is the visual bug because I do like to see my accomplishment of the weapons I earn and get these all the badges I get. Every weapon has this. Except for these two launchers. They don't have it. And of course, I'm not even gonna bother with these four. And also, in terms, the next thing, I want to know what's up with Treyarch's mind was the way they have the challenges, especially for this, when it comes to the Dead Ops Arcade challenges. Why in the hell would you make challenges in Dead Ops Arcade? It doesn't make any sense because you don't even earn XP when playing Dead Ops Arcade. The only XP you ever get from it is by completing these challenges. But they don't give you much of the XP. Until you at least complete all the challenges for it. It's pretty laughable. Also, it does not even help you to level up your battle pass too, so. And also, not a lot of people at launch are good at Dead Ops Arcade. Hell, I haven't even defeat the Cosmic Silverback or the Silverback in Dead Ops Arcade 1 and 2. The only purpose, or the only reason I was able to beat the Silverback for Dead Ops Arcade 3, or at least beat it, is because of that first person view mode, which has been added like a few days ago. Well, that's mostly the stuff I want to talk about during with the UI and the other systems. Now I'm going to show you a few of the gameplays that do have their problems. Alright, gotta start with the outbreak. Alright, the few things I gotta talk about, of course, I'm just doing showing off the little bit outbreak gameplay.
This was only a matter of time.
And not really much to talk about the problems with outbreak, but I have still a few. One of them is the enemy type, the Tempest, which is those electric dudes that love to teleport who actually gets away from the player. And they're very annoying with their projectiles. My problem is that they go in lots of numbers. And they're very annoying to deal with. And it sucks too if you're a shotgun or a melee user and you can't reach their range. It really sucks. Trying to kill each and one of them. Also, the Hellhounds are completely useless because you can see that damage of that fire damage only does that much. Especially if you have stamina up. You can actually outrun the Hellhound before it does their, the whole suicide explosion. Which, it's pretty damn sad how the Hellhounds basically fall from grace of very memorable new enemy type from Shino Numa into now a weaker puppet, and with much lower health. I mean, the dogs were pretty weak in Black Ops 3. I even suggest to buff the Hellhounds, and guess what? They did buff the Hellhounds, and then the whole community just started to complain about it, especially in the Blood of the Dead, and they just reduced the numbers. And you can only get like 3 Hellhounds at a time, which really sucks. I thought that Hellhounds were perfectly fine. But now in Cold War, I don't think they even try to fight you. All they do is just try to flame you while trying to explode. And if anything, they're kind of a, you know, a waste of a count, like the number of zombies that could spawn in. They basically waste a couple of valuable times, especially if you're trying to make a whole train of zombies and you're trying to use it with dead wire. And the next thing is when it comes to how the rarity works. When it comes to Onslaught and Outbreak, when you open a loot chest or something far greater when you kill an elite enemy, you always get at least a tier 2 or tier 3, which is perfectly normal.
All
of course,
weapons do
nice,
damage.
you have a tier 3 M60, which is totally fine. But of course, the higher you go, you're still gonna get tier 2s and 3s, which I don't think that should be the case. It should be at least better tiers. And it really disappoints. Especially if you're like at 8 or 9 in Outbreak and you're still going for these chests, and you open it up, especially a golden chest, and you still get, oh, like a tier 2 combat knife, which really is a slap to the face. And my other problem with the Outbreak is, in terms of objectives, of course by playing so many hours and many games, they are very predictable.
You screamed your last.
And making the
You are
RNG
weak and pathetic.
very predictable and kind of less fun. I mean, it's nowhere near the same RNG level as Payday 2, but now that I know every moment of every
Easiest
spot,
lobotomy in history.
every location, and basically the best routes, especially on the higher rounds, it becomes less of a challenge. Even though the zombies have increased the speed and health, it's still no match.
Do your bit and help the rover through the gateway, okay?
It's
Keep
just,
that rover company, strike team.
I don't know what a word for it though. But
Searching for dimensional breach.
it just makes it kind of a little bit of a letdown. And of course, another problem when it comes to high rounds is, of course, just like most other difficulties, there's less weapon variety to use on the higher you go, the harder difficulty. You know, every other game that has a high difficulty always suffers the same day. You had to use like 3 or 4 guns, usually the meta weapons, to work to reach high rounds. Like usually a water weapon or the Howard 77. It becomes of a crutch problem. And even though they did give us these upgrades for tier 4 and 5, the issue here still is,
Stable temporal signature.
A lot of people are not gonna use much of the weapons, and
Breach meets stability requirements.
they're no longer playing it for the fun of it, but other than just trying to win it out.
Rover has crossed the breach. Great. What's that?
Especially if you're playing with
Get back to the rover.
pubs, which of course I don't do because it's actually more cancerous than pubs in Payday 2.
Fascinating. The specimen has undergone initial transformation.
So my suggestion for these objectives and few stuff to make it a little bit more random is at least change up a little bit.
Hope you rot.
Like change up the location of the loot chest, because so far you can always know where a large loot chest will be, and most of the time they're really avoiding the smaller
Anomaly
loot boxes.
identified.
And I mean, after all, I do like to see this game mode get a lot better soon, because to me it's definitely like
Failure can haunt
Endless from Killing Floor 2 and Grinder from Payday 2, but 10 times better than both of those games combined. And of course my problem here is when it comes to weapons, well, people want the weapon kits for able to at least customize our weapons, since after all, I can only have one and I can't put it for the other weapons at the same time,
revenge tastes sweet.
Rover has crossed the breach.
which I was able to do in Black Ops 4,
The ritual breach is collapsed. Get to the rover.
where I can equip all my weapons to, you know, the Dark Matter camo with no problem,
We still need to find a stable breach. Continue
and have
escort.
all the intelligence I want. And of course, I think during Season 1, there was supposed to be a feeder mode, but sadly that did not make the cut, and I can definitely probably see why they don't want it. Well, they didn't add a feeder mode in for zombies, because, well, we can able to record. But here's the thing:
To the grave.
what if you accidentally made a mistake when you record and you basically can't get it back?
Massive dark ether energy influx.
Not everyone's kind of you know, an expert or new when it comes to, or let's just say experience with the how to record stuff from a platform
This is it.
like the
That breach should
PS4.
be the one.
Let's get it done, strike team.
Get down.
And another thing, problem is sometimes some of the calling cards sometimes they always get bugged, where the progression usually gets halted because it's a bug and you can't do anything about it. One example of this is the Trapper challenge, which is you mostly have to kill zombies with either the sentry gun or C4 or energy mine.
Payload is through.
But at one point it was like
Dr. Gray,
255
what's the
kills.
Stable
And
data established. Payload is in the dark
It
ether.
stopped
Thanks for
because
the
it was a
escort.
bug, and then about maybe a month or two later, they finally fixed it. And then we have another problem with these calling card. Another challenge, which I'm doing right now, is getting now kills with weapons found in the loot chests in Outbreak, because this was a bug when they did a hotfix. It was buggy and you can't progress. But now you can, which is great. Which
You screamed your
I'm on
last.
my way for at least 5,000 kills.
Dying.
And I think that's mostly about it. My little rant about zombies. Even though I still enjoy the game, I still gonna play it. Still play this game. Still having fun. But these are just a lot of few problems that hopefully they could able to change it. And hopefully at least improve later on. And I guess another thing about the, I should say about the exfil is, once you got all the crystals, like all the raw Ethereum crystals and all the refined and flawless crystals, the only purpose to exfil now is for the XP you get. But in terms of the challenge to exfil, I think the difficulty for Die Machine and Outbreaks are actually great challenges when you have to exfil. But when it comes to Firebase C, you only have to face like 36 regular zombies. There's no Hellhounds, no Manglers, no Mimics. Hell, not even an Ordar appears. And it's quite laughable. And I think it feels like Treyarch just give up on these exfils and try and make it much more harder. Didn't they say they exfil are meant to be the difficulty that turn up to dial to 11 to make it much more harder? Firebase C is so freaking easy. You can just use a Death Machine, a Artillery Strike, Napalm Strike, a Death Machine, a Chopper Gunner with no problem. At least for Die Machine and Outbreak, I had to use all my available resources just to exfil.
My team's on it, Carver.
And that gives me the satisfaction of I have pulled this through from all the resources I have collected throughout my journey, and I use it to my advantage. But Firebase C, in terms of the exfil, if you give me something too easy, I basically lost the adrenaline and the thrill just to succeed, because I could just simply just sprint forward to the area, press the right D-pad button, call in a chopper gunner, mow everything down, and just exfil. At least in the other ones, I had to use like a monkey bomb, and I used my field upgrade, use my tactical equipment, my lethal equipment, everything. Also, one last thing, in terms of the music, especially the 115, how come we don't have the full lyric version of it? It's pretty underwhelming. I mean, I don't mind hearing two of the different versions, one with the singer, one without. But it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel the same. And I really hope they can add the other soundtracks into co-op, because this is so far a very fun experience to play with. And another thing when it comes to perks, Tombstone, even at tier 5, is still the worst perk in the game. It is so worthless. Even though the description say for tier 5 says prevent from perk from decay, but it didn't really tell you that only prevents 3 of your first perks you have. So for example, I have Quick Revive, Stamina Up, and Jug, and if I get Tombstone and all the other remaining perks I get, I'll lose 4 of those perks and keep these free. honestly, it's such a joke when you compare it to the other tier 5 skills from the perks like Stamina Up. I get unlimited sprint at full speed. I don't have a fall off. Quick Revive, I can be able to get back up by killing a enemy. And of course I lose a Quick Revive, but that's even better than Tombstone. The only purpose I would use Tombstone for is for holdouts like this coming up. And since I have like 60 seconds of bleed out, and I have like 40 seconds left on the clock, all I have to do is just lay there, don't get back up, and I could win a holdout like this on higher waves. It's pretty laughable because normally people would never actually use Tombstone like this. But now I do. And that's the only purpose I will probably get Tombstone. So yeah, that's gotta be it for my rant. I know this has been a long one. I know I did say short, but I want to talk about all the law stuff because these are basically the major stuff I want to go through. I know there's a lot of stuff, a lot of bugs and glitches that I didn't talk about, but considering they're made during a pandemic, of course I'll let that slide, but it's still no excuse that they still can't fix all this, you know, in a matter of months, or took them this long to finally suggest it. It's pretty laughable. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Till next time, farewell, and have a wonderful day, everyone.